Customers have already paid at least $1 billion into what's known as a decommissioning fund to close San Onofre, according to Southern California Edison, which declined an interview. That money is meant to handle, as ratepayer advocate Charles Langley puts it, the dangerous, toxic stuff that makes up nuclear waste.
Because sooner or later the plant's going to fail and it's going to take billions of dollars to clean up the mess.
San Onofre's failure came in 2012 and made national news.
Radiation leak at an American nuclear power plant, San Onofre, 45 miles north of San Diego, California. Officials say the leak is small, but as we've seen before, sometimes nuclear plants have changed the story after an accident.
The plant closed for good 18 months later.
SoCal Ed has just revealed it is going to be closing the troubled San Onofre nuclear power plant here in Southern California.
Premature tube wear inside the plant's new steam generators caused the radioactive leak. Those generators were supposed to last 40 years, but only lasted one. And their price tag for customers is nearly $600 million. The California Public Utilities Commission is tasked with protecting consumers and ensuring they get safe power at a fair price. But it never followed through on a promised investigation into whether Edison was at fault. And now the PUC itself and Edison are the focus of a criminal investigation. The California Attorney General's office has issued search warrants for 14 top current and former Edison executives and 8 PUC past and current officials, including former President Michael Peavy. Here's what investigators are asking about. In March 2013, the PUC's Peavy flew to Poland. There he met Edison executive Stephen Pickett at a fancy hotel. The two talked about San Onofre, sometimes called songs. Pickett actually wrote about the meeting in an email to an Edison colleague in which he said he sat next to Peavy at dinner in Warsaw, and then he added, quote, "Working songs deserve combat pay." Peavy and Pickett soon came up with a framework for a settlement that determined who should pay for San Onofre's closure. That framework nearly matched the final settlement announced more than a year later. Customers were left with the bulk of the bill, $3.3 billion to pay for what's been characterized by the media as shutdown costs. But wait a minute, didn't customers already pay for this with the decommissioning fund? Wasn't that supposed to cover shutdown costs? It turns out the $3.3 billion customers will pay over 10 years is actually meant for Edison and minority owner SDG&E to still get a return on their San Onofre investment, even though the plant no longer works. Former San Diego City Attorney Mike Aguirre is suing to get the settlement scrapped.
The $3.3 billion is being paid by ratepayers as if San Onofre is producing electricity for the next decade.
The settlement also calls for customers to pay for power they now have to buy from other providers with San Onofre offline. And 4 power plants are in the works to make up for San Onofre's closure. The total cost to consumers, $5.5 billion. Aguirre says customers are being double billed.
They're saying, hey, you have to pay for electricity from San Onofre, and then you have to pay for electricity from somewhere else because there's not really electricity coming from San Onofre.
So let's tally all the costs customers are paying for San Onofre's closure. There's about $1 billion for the decommissioning fund that's already been paid, plus nearly $600 million for the steam generators. Then $3.3 billion in the settlement agreement to cover some of Edison's lost profit from San Onofre. About $5.5 billion for interim replacement electricity and plants being built to make up for San Onofre's power generation. If you add up those numbers, you get $10 billion. Divide by the number of customer meters, and you are paying about $1,600 for San Onofre. Most of those costs will be spun out over the next decade or two. Now, Edison maintains that customers have received a $1 billion refund from the pact. The so-called refund shows up as a reduction in the amount of interest customers are charged for Edison's investment in San Onofre. Again, Aguirre.
It would be like, you bought a car, now the car has proven to be defective, so you can't drive the car, and they're saying, well, good, we're going to reduce the rate on the loan that you took out at the bank, so you don't have to pay, 5% for the loan, you only have to pay 2%. And you say, well, wait a second, I don't have the car. Why am I paying for anything you know, and they're saying, oh no, that's a savings.
In the same year the settlement was made public, executive compensation at Edison shot up 71%. And in the days after the deal was announced, the company's stock rose 9%. That may be why former PUC President Peavy sent an email after the deal was disclosed that said, quote, Wall Street really likes the settlement. Meanwhile, customers in San Diego County continue to have some of the highest electric bills in the country. I'm Amita Sharma, KPBS News.